Dear child, before anything else is said, pause with me for a moment, breathe slowly, let this space become quiet inside you. This is a spiritual reflection, not a prediction, not a promise about what must happen. Take what resonates with your heart. Take what resonates with your heart, and gently release what does not. Now listen softly. If you have been feeling a quiet inner pull lately, a gentle pressure in your chest that appears without warning, a sense that something within your spirit is shifting, something difficult to explain without feeling misunderstood, you are not imagining it. What you are sensing is movement, not noise, not fear, but awareness. It can feel as though timing itself has adjusted, not slowly, not carefully, not in the way the mind prefers. It feels like being in a long tunnel of waiting, quiet, dim, time stretching until patience felt heavy, and then, without force, without drama, the space begins to open, not chaotic, not reckless, but steady. This kind of movement does not come from impulse. It comes when waiting has finished, teaching what it needed to teach. That is why your heart keeps responding, even when you try to stay calm, even when you tell yourself you might be overthinking, even when you choose to stay reasonable and grounded. Something still continues to build, not urgency, not anxiety, but momentum. It feels like the air itself carries meaning, like your spirit notices change before your senses can name it, like recognizing footsteps before any sound is heard. You may not fully understand it yet, but you can feel it and hear this gently. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is discernment. It is a quiet kind of spiritual awareness, the ability to recognize movement before it becomes visible. And this is where the journey truly begins. And as this awareness grows, understand this gently. There is a story unfolding on the other side of silence, not loud, not rushed, but real. It is a story of a heart learning honesty, a heart that has been trying to stay strong, trying to stay logical, trying to believe that distance could solve what only truth can heal. This is not about impatience, it is about realization. Waiting can teach many lessons: confusion, pride, hesitation, moments where words almost formed, then stopped, moments where prayers were felt, even without language, nights spent awake, staring at the ceiling, thoughts rising quietly, returning again and again, not dramatically, but persistently, and over time, waiting begins to feel different. Not exhausting in a dramatic way, but heavy in a meaningful way, The kind of heaviness that comes when someone realizes they have been avoiding what they already know. The angels describe it as an inner shift, like a wall inside slowly cracking. Pretending becomes tiring. Excuses lose their strength. Distractions stop working, because noise cannot fill a space that was never meant for noise. Some spaces exist for truth, for honesty, for connection. And this is the part that can feel unsettling. It is not only about missing someone, it is about no longer being able to live as if absence is normal. Time does not always dull what matters. Sometimes it sharpens it. Busyness can delay awareness, but silence brings it back, not as fantasy, not as imagination, but as clarity. The angels describe it like this: for a long time, there were gentle reminders, small nudges, quiet moments of reflection, and now those reminders feel clearer. Not forceful, just undeniable, clear enough to interrupt thought, clear enough to wake someone in the quiet hours of night, clear enough to place one simple truth in the heart. Speak honestly, address what was avoided, and you may wonder why this awareness feels stronger now. Because you asked for clarity, because you asked for peace, because you quietly hoped for understanding, and that has not gone unnoticed. No tear was wasted, no prayer spoken in silence disappeared. Some prayers return as words, others return as movement, as openness, as courage, not arrogance, not ego, courage, not ego, courage. The kind that grows when someone realizes that the cost of staying silent may be greater than the risk of being honest. And this is how timing begins to make sense. And even with this awareness, there is still uncertainty. They do not know how you would respond. They have imagined the moment in many ways: surprise, guarded silence, emotion, distance. They do not know. What they do know is this: living in almost has become too heavy, almost calling, almost speaking, almost choosing honesty, almost returning to truth. At some point, almost stops being safe. And when that moment arrives, timing can feel sudden, not because anyone wants drama, but because waiting for perfect no longer feels honest. Growth teaches a quiet lesson. Obedience does not always arrive with a schedule. Sometimes it arrives with clarity, a clear inner sense of now, not later. Not when it is convenient, but now. You may have felt echoes of this too. A sudden awareness without reason, a calm that settles unexpectedly, a gentle sense of connection that brushes your thoughts and then fades. These moments are not meant to alarm you. They are not meant to rush you. They are invitations to stay present, gentle signals, quiet nudges, subtle reminders that movement is unfolding. And hear this carefully, dear child. Movement does not require you to abandon wisdom. Being open does not mean becoming unsafe. Listening does not mean lowering boundaries. The angels do not ask for foolishness. They ask for balance, a soft heart, and an awake mind. Love that is aligned will never demand that you lose yourself. It will not arrive with pressure. It will not create confusion. It will not play games. It will come with peace, with clarity, with responsibility. That is why this season feels intense, not because the past is repeating, but because growth has taken place. This is not the old version shaped by avoidance, not the one who disappeared from difficult conversations, not the one who left questions unanswered. Change does not erase nervousness. Change deepens honesty. Growth often happens quietly, in private seasons, when no one is watching. In those seasons, pride is confronted, patterns are examined, and wounds are acknowledged. Understanding matures. Some lessons must be unlearned. Some pain must be faced. Some connections must be respected. What shifts is not perfection. What shifts is intention, and you may notice it simply. In consistency, in presence, in sincerity, not always through grand gestures. Sometimes through showing up, choosing truth over comfort, choosing presence over performance. And this is how the journey continues. What begins to matter most is truth. Truth over comfort, honesty over avoidance, presence over performance. Even if there is nervousness, even if there is hesitation, the angels emphasize this gently. The angels emphasize this gently. This is not about playing with emotions. It is not about appearing and disappearing. It is not about testing value or attention. It is about understanding what connection truly meant, not just affection, but safety, not just attraction, but peace, not just shared moments, but reflection, a mirror that revealed truth, a connection that invited growth. And deep within you, dear child, you sensed this was not finished. That is why certain feelings returned quietly, why some memories did not fade, why your spirit did not fully close the door, even when your mind tried to move on. Some connections do not end in silence. They pause in silence, not as punishment, but as preparation. Silence becomes space. Space becomes clarity. And clarity allows words to be spoken properly. Still, your heart may ask a gentle question. What if I am not ready? And the answer comes softly. Readiness does not require perfection. It requires honesty, honest awareness of what you feel, honest clarity about what you need, honest boundaries around what you will and will not accept. If growth is genuine, it will not require you to shrink. It will not ask you to undo your healing. It will not demand that you abandon your values just to keep connection close. So prepare thoughtfully, not only your space, but your spirit. Prepare your emotions. Prepare your emotions. Boundaries. Make room for conversation. Make room for truth. And make room for the possibility that what you once hoped for may arrive in a form that feels unexpected. Not rushed, not forced, but aligned. When moments arrive in alignment, they can feel surreal. Emotions may rise together: relief, caution, tenderness, hope, all at once. This does not mean something is wrong. It means your heart is awake. And the journey continues with awareness. And understand this gently. The intensity you feel does not mean something is wrong. It means something is real. It means your heart is awake. It means you are human. The angels speak of grace here. Grace that covers what is still healing, as long as truth remains present, because the purpose of this journey was never just reunion, it was restoration. A love that is steady. A love that is steady. A love that is clean. A love that is safe, not a love that is safe. Not a love that arrives only with emotion, but one that stays with responsibility. Not a love that speaks beautiful, but one that carries those words through consistent actions. And hear this clearly, dear child. If seriousness is present, let consistency reveal it. Let time speak. Let trust be built, not demanded. Divine timing never rushes your discernment. It never shames your caution. It never pressures your wisdom. Divine timing can move swiftly, but it heals gently. So if your spirit has been sensing a shift, if your heart has felt that quiet pull, if you have experienced waves of emotion without explanation, or moments of calm that arrive unexpectedly, receive this softly, not as certainty, not as obligation, but as awareness. Something is moving, not because you forced it, not because you chased it, but because what is meant to align does not need to be controlled. It arrives in its own time, in its own way, with a change that makes it sustainable. And if this resonates with you, hold it quietly within yourself. I am open to what is meant for me. I am protected in my discernment. And with that knowing, the journey continues in peace. Hold this gently within your heart. I welcome divine love with peace, clarity, and truth. The angels feel near in moments like this, not to overwhelm, not to rush, but to reassure. And however awareness arrives, through a conversation, through a calm, unexpected meeting that feels quietly aligned, you will recognize it not by anxiety, not by urgency, but by calm, a steady inner witness that does not demand, a deep sense of peace that says, this feels different. This feels honest. This feels grounded, not perfect, but real, not driven by games, not fueled by confusion, but shaped by understanding. Sometimes change does not alter the outside world immediately. Life may look the same on the surface, but inside, something settles. Space is made for reflection, for truth, for healing. Time is spent not avoiding discomfort, but facing it. And when clarity forms, it has a way of returning attention to what truly mattered, not a memory, not an image, but presence. The quiet impact someone had, the safety they represented, the truth they reflected, even when distance existed, even when silence stretched, some connections remain carried inwardly, not as attachment, but as understanding. And this is shared softly, without pressure, without expectation, just awareness. Stay open, stay grounded, stay kind to your own process. What is meant to unfold will do so with peace, with clarity, and with the kind of truth that does not need to be forced. And here the journey rests, and quietly, even through distance, You remained present in ways that were not visible, in reflection, in memory, in prayer. Even when the outer expression looked strong, even when distractions filled the days, even when everything appeared fine on the surface, something kept returning inwardly, not fleeting thoughts, not passing images, but impressions that lingered, the kind that surface in quiet moments, the kind that follow into rest, the kind that leave a feeling behind after waking, moments that stir emotion without explanation, moments that invite reflection rather than escape. In those quiet spaces, questions were asked privately, not loudly, not dramatically, just honestly, seeking clarity, seeking understanding, seeking truth, and gradually, awareness began to increase, not through force, but through repetition, small confirmations, unexpected connections, words heard at the right moment, not signs meant to control, but moments that encouraged attention, like gentle reminders returning again and again, inviting honesty instead of avoidance. Over time, hesitation begins to loosen. Excuses lose their strength. Old patterns feel heavier than truth. Fear does not disappear, but it changes shape. It no longer leads. It no longer controls. What grows stronger is awareness, and understanding that distance has weight, that silence has cost, that connection matters. And with that realization comes fatigue. Not dramatic exhaustion, but a quiet weariness of separation, a longing for clarity, a desire for resolution, an awareness that pretending indifference no longer works. This is not about urgency, it is about honesty rising. And this is how the journey continues. And through all of this, something remained unfinished, not closed, only left slightly open, not because of confusion, but because clarity had not fully arrived yet. Now, instead of waiting for a perfect moment, understanding begins to form. Sometimes love does not arrive at the right time. Sometimes love creates timing through courage. This is not a sudden impulse, not a reaction, not loneliness speaking. It comes from realization, from recognizing that what was shared was not ordinary. It did not fade with distance. It did not disappear when ignored. The more it was avoided, the clearer it became, like an echo that grows louder when silence stretches too long. This is why movement begins, not with certainty about outcomes, but with intention, even without knowing how they would be received, even with nervousness, even without perfect words, because understanding reaches a point where delay no longer feels honest. This is not about proving anything. It is about responsibility, choosing presence instead of avoidance, choosing clarity instead of confusion, not driven by emotion alone, but guided by intention, not chasing a feeling, but acknowledging meaning. This is how accountability begins to replace hesitation. This is how sincerity starts to show itself, not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. And this is where the journey continues. And as this message comes to rest, let everything settle gently within you. Nothing here is meant to rush you. Nothing here is meant to control you, only to remind you you are seen, you are guided, and you are not alone on this journey. If this message brought you calm, if it gave you clarity, if it helped your heart breathe a little easier, then hold that peace with gratitude. And if you feel moved to support this space, you can offer a small coffee donation, not as obligation, not as pressure, only as a quiet thank you. A way of helping this message continue to reach others who may need it too. Whether you give or not, the message remains the same. Trust the timing of your journey. Protect your peace, honor your discernment, and walk forward gently, because what is meant for you will never need to be forced. Take